Hey everybody, it's Chris, and today we're going to be looking at the highly anticipated, very overstable mid-range from Westside discs, the Anvil. The Anvil has been getting a lot of buzz as being a beadless version of the Justice, so of course in this review you're going to see a couple of those fly. You're going to see my slightly Domey Thor's hammer, my very flat team stamp, and the reason you're going to see both is because I have found that, for me anyway, that the Domey versions are just a touch less overstable, and I do mean a touch. They're still Justices, they're still extremely overstable, but whereas those old flat tops are incredibly aggressive getting to the ground, like they're coming out of my hand on hyzer even though I was releasing them flat, the Domey ones are just a touch more workable for me. And I found the Anvil, I'm glad I included both because I found the Anvil to actually be closer to the Domey ones. And I'm going to say probably even just a touch, again, very small gradients, less overstable as well. People have asked, does it have more glide? And I want to give Miles credit for the rough quote of, does it have more glide than the Justice? Well, it's not hard because the Justice doesn't have any. I mean, if you've thrown a Justice, you know they, even if on an anti-release, they're flattened out and trying to get to the ground almost immediately. And the Anvil is in that ballpark. Does it have a little more glide? I do think so. I was getting 10, 15 more feet, especially on the harder throws. So yeah, it's going to stand up just a little bit longer. But it's not going to be a bridge disc between, say, like a Bard or an Anchor and the Justice. Instead, it's going to be really close to the Justice on that scale. So Bard, Justice, Anchor, that kind of thing. You'll see it in the video. I'm going to throw them in the field. I'm going to throw them on a few holes, and you're going to see just that super aggressive, overstable finish that's going to look very familiar if you've thrown Justices before. The one difference, and I thought this was interesting, and it could be completely fluke, so do not take this to a bank as a guarantee, but it seemed like the Anvil didn't want to skip. If you've thrown Justices, you know, they come in, they flare skip, oh, there's the face, there it goes left. It seemed like the Anvil was much better at just settling down. But again, that could have been just the way I was throwing this week, so don't take that as a guarantee by any means. What else can I say about it? I was asked to compare it to the discs like the Bard or the Anchor Pine Verdict. Honestly, I threw it once and knew I didn't need to compare it to those because if you've thrown all of those discs, you know there's a wide gap in the stabilities, and the Anvil's not middle ground, it's not close to the Bard, it really is just very close to the Justice, so that comparison was the best one. Alright, besides that, like I said, you're going to see it in the field, you're going to see it against the Justice quite a bit, so if you have any questions or comments, please put them below and I'll do my best to answer those for you. Be looking at the end, I'm going to put a preview for the Fuji, or a slight preview that I put out for the Fuji at the end, so you can see that. So obviously the Fuji is going to be the next review out, and then the Warhorse after that one. So questions or comments, put them below, and as always, of course, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy this video. So we'll head out to the course for a couple basic shots. The first is just a low power stall. You're going to see it skip up. I thought it might actually go in the basket, but I think it was just behind it. And then next is a forehand. You're going to see, even with my ugly torque, this disc handles it just fine. Fades nicely around the corner for an easy putt. So here we're going to start with the comparisons. Here's the Dymax Justice I showed you. The Anvil is going to be thrown a little more outside, which is going to allow it to track back to the basket a little nicer, whereas the Justice is going to skip past it. These discs had a very similar flight. Their lines were just a little bit off on release. Here's a left-right comparison. Again, the Justice is just thrown more left, not as much height as the Anvil, which is going to allow the Anvil to track right back to the basket. It's going to hit the mound it's sitting on, whereas the Justice ends up left again. And here's that flat top Justice I was talking about. This is my most overstable Justice. I actually managed to put these on pretty similar lines. The Justice just has a more aggressive fade here, but result-wise they're going to be very close. At this point I want to comment that I thought about just saying, I threw both discs, they went left over and over again, but decided against it. For this shot, I'm going to throw on a hard flex, trying to get out to the basket, about 295 away. Both discs end up fairly short, the Anvil being closer of the two. Then we'll go out to the field. This is about 70% with the Anvil and my flat Justice. You can see just how aggressive that fade is on the Justice. It's tipped down almost immediately out of the hand. It just wants to get to the ground. This next shot, I'm using the side-by-side view again to give you the height perspective. These are both supposed to be turnover flexes. Both should stall and come down pretty hard. You're going to see the Justice started more left. It just never got to the right like the Anvil did. And before we head back out to the course for a few holes, I am going to use that great throwaway line I talked about. I threw both of the discs, and they went left. Here we are going to go back out to the course. This basket's about 230, 240, somewhere in that range. My goal here was to throw both of these discs around those two trees you see directly in front of me, but these discs are really overstable, so instead they went inside the tree and ended up left of the bucket. Biggest difference on their finish was the flare skip from the Justice, otherwise a very similar throw. On this hole, again, that 230 range, just throwing both discs out to the right, letting them fade back. The Justice is actually going to carry a little bit longer. I think I threw it just a touch harder, end up behind the basket, whereas the Anvil is right next to it. On this last throw, my goal here was to get it slightly wide, just wide enough to get around those branches. I thought the Anvil was headed right for the basket until it gets caught by that branch. Both discs are within 15 feet of the bucket again. Here we have our special guest thrower, Joseph Huskins. This is kind of a fun story. He saw where I'm posting from on Facebook and realized he was going to be driving through for Easter celebrations and asked if he could come and try out the discs, and I thought that sounded fun, so you get to see him turn over those first two shots to flex them out a little bit, and here's a forehand. And I'll let him talk about the disc a little.
What's up? I'm Joseph Huskins. I just threw the Anvil for the first time. Put it up against Justice. They feel similar in the hand, just obviously without the bead on the Anvil, but beefy. It's definitely going to go in the bag right when it comes out. And thanks to Chris for coming out here and letting me throw it, man.
To wrap up, the Anvil is a very overstable mid-range and a great addition to the Westside discs lineup. It compares favorably to the Justice, maybe being just a touch less overstable, but not much at all. As you saw in the video, very close comparisons and throws. If you like this video, if you found it helpful, please feel free to like it, share it, give it a thumbs up. Definitely leave a comment or a question so I can get back to you. As always, thank you so much for watching, and make sure to keep watching for the preview of the Fuji. Thanks. Hey everybody, it's Chris, and this is sneak peek number 3 with the Latitude 64 Fuji prototype. Fuji is an overstable mid-range in the realms of the Verdict, or Pine, or Anchor. Here on these test throws, you can see a nice, just easy throw. Throw it up there on the right side, let it fade back to center. And here we'll power it up a little bit. You can see that nice flat line, fairly straight before the stability kicks in and pulls it down reliably. Let's do a comparison shot next to the Verdict on the right, and we'll go out to the field. I'm going to give you 3 comparison throws here, and you can watch. The lines are not exact on these discs. I apologize, I had a hard time hitting lines with them. But you can see how they fade. That was actually a pretty decent comparison there. But you can see how the stabilities kick in and how they're going to pull the discs left. They do seem to be in the same ballpark. I will say there seemed to be something different about the grip of the Fuji, and I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I'll try to investigate it for the full review. But I would put this in the ballpark of the Verdict. I will also be taking a Pine out there just to see how it compares to that one as well for the full review. So if you like these quick looks and they gave you just an example to look at, give me a thumbs up or leave a comment. I probably won't be able to answer your questions, but I'll do the best I can. Thanks for watching.